welcome. You're watching the Social Network. Now, it's a more than $2 billion industry, yet it continues to function without any regulation. Surrogacy in India has long been at the heart of so many debates, and in the run-up to the final draft of the ART, or the Assisted Reproductive Technologies Regulation Bill, suggestions were invited from various stakeholders. The government has now proposed several tough rules which ban foreigners and open the option of surrogacy only to married, infertile, Indian origin couples, opening the door wide for yet another debate. This coming after the veil surrounding surrogacy in India was lifted several inches after Shah Rukh Khan, the King Khan, announced his third child was from a surrogate mother. So on the Social Network today, we discussed draconian, the government's latest measures. Are they going to regulate the industry better in this country? I'll quickly introduce our panelists for the day. In the Delhi studio, we're joined by Dr. Rita Bakshi. She's the chairperson of the International Fertility Center. We're joined from Mumbai by Chainika Shah. She's a feminist activist. We're also joined from Hyderabad by Dr. Pushpa Bhargav, who is the chairman and on the drafting committee of that ART bill. And we're also joined from Bangalore by Dr. Kamini Rao, who is the medical director of the Million Fertility Center. Dr. Bhargav, I actually just want to throw this one out to you first. First of all, this bill has been in the making now for so many years that it's almost becoming a bit of a joke now. But the fact that the government is actually saying that from the previous draft, when single homosexual individuals were actually allowed to have a child through surrogacy, now they're taking that option away. Is that not retrograde and draconian?
Well, the option in the bill, the option in the bill is still there, that an individual can have a child. There's nothing in the bill which prohibits an individual from having a child. Did I get you right?
This is actually, these are just the changes that the DGHS, which is a part of the Health Ministry, has in fact proposed, just before the final actual draft is now prepared.
Well, in the final draft that went out of our hands to the Law Ministry, there is a provision that an individual can have a child, for example, through a surrogate, that this is not prohibited in the draft bill. And after all, let's not forget, the Supreme Court has already ruled that any individual can adopt a child. So if an individual can adopt a child, then there's no reason why an individual should not be allowed to have a child through surrogacy.
All right, Dr. Kamini Rao, if I could just bring you in. We were talking earlier, and you said that there is a justification of why the ministry and the government feels that the bandwidth and the mandate of the ART bill should be narrowed down, and such tough rules need to be brought in.
Well, I think that the ministry itself will be looking at the existing laws that govern the country. So as long as the existing laws don't get changed, then you can't apply all the things that come in the bill. So we need to see simultaneously the laws changing in this country. So as it stands now, I don't think it is restrictive. The ART bill, of which Dr. Bhargava is the chairman, we've been looking at it, we've deliberated, we've made it as fair as possible, and I don't see why it is draconian in any way.
Dr. Bakshi, if I could just bring you in. World over, countries are now talking about legalizing gay marriages. World over, the idea of live-in relationships and the idea of, everybody having the right to parenthood is becoming more and more common and more accepted. How is it that in India we're taking steps back?
I would say that if India stops the right of single people or gay people from having parenthood, it is definitely archaic. It is taking, I think the right of parenthood should be there to everybody, and the fact that so many countries are accepting gay marriages itself means, the next step to accepting gay marriages would be to give them a baby and give them parenthood. And I think it should be accepted, but not that I'm saying that, the government has its own reasons for doing that. I'm only in favor of, yes, laws should be there, industry should be regulated, but the laws have to be in tune with the times, in tune with how the society is changing. If this had come, say, 10 years back, I would have said yes. But now you see so many countries are now accepting that. So accepting gay marriages means accepting the fact that there are two people on the same sex allowed to live together. That means they should be allowed to have joy of parenthood also.
Okay, and I just want to actually throw that across to Dr. Rao, if you could hear what Dr. Bakshi was saying. You know, you're talking about making the ART in tune with the laws of the land that currently exist. But, you know, in your earlier draft, homosexuals and single parents were in fact allowed to have children through surrogacy. So why do you feel that there is a reason why, you know, for example, homosexual couples cannot have children through surrogacy? Why should they be denied the right of parenthood?
Well, I think as long as the laws of the country don't recognize gay marriages, so I don't think, you know, what the guidelines will say will make any sense, because unless the laws of the country change to allow and recognize gay marriages, how are you going to allow the ART bill to put in such things? But should the laws change towards gay marriages, then I'm sure that the ART bill has a provision to allow for gay marriages. I mean, to have gays having babies. Or I don't think the ART draft bill that was
it's interesting because Dr. Bhargav, who's also part of the drafting committee, doesn't agree with that. Dr. Bhargav?
Yes.
Well, actually, we have defined a couple in the draft bill as two individuals which have a relationship which is legal in the country, and therefore, when homosexuality becomes legal in the country, automatically the bill will apply to them as well. So we have recognized that. We only said that as of now, whatever relationship is legal in the country would apply to the bill.
But if I could just bring Hari, who joins us also from Chennai, and Hari is the founder of the Indian Surrogacy Law Center. Hari, you know, Dr. Rao and Dr. Bhargav are making the point that homosexuality, because it's, you know, gay marriages are not legalized in this country, hence they shouldn't have the right to parenthood. What's been your experience, Hari?
Well, as far as Indian gay marriages or, you know, gay couples having children is concerned, the situation is, you know, fairly bleak. The reason for that is right now we do not have a system which actually allows, you know, gay relationship or legalize it, if not allow for it. It does not legalize it. So there arises the question. Now, probably they would be looking forward to have, you know, proceeding forward, you know, as a single parent, because there is no way you can legalize a gay relationship in India. So that being the case, that actually causes the, you know, the foremost hindrance as far as that is concerned.
But a single parent can have a child.
Okay, if I could just bring Chainika in. Chainika, you know, we're having all of these discussions about the law and what changes we can bring to the law. But I think what Dr. Bakshi said earlier about everybody having the right to parenthood is somewhere getting lost in a lot of the legalese that's being talked about in terms of India. And I think the point that I want to make again is that, you know, among the measures that the health ministry is proposing, they're also saying that only if you're married, only if you're infertile, and only if you are of Indian origin, which means that foreigners basically can no longer exercise the option of surrogacy in India, which gives a huge, you know, which can give a huge birth to a rise of an underground industry. But how is also that to say that Indian origin parents are not NRI parents, and they would also be able to give their child that citizenship?
See, I think that there are two issues here. One is that you have, they're trying to apparently protect the rights of the child, right? Even that's why they're saying that if only legal couples will be allowed to have a child through surrogacy. So that's one point. The second is that by saying that only Indian people or people of Indian origin can use surrogacy within India, they claim to protect the woman who is going in for surrogacy, and they also claim to protect the child who is going to be born thus by. I think that on both these counts, one would like to contest it a little, that it's not, you don't have to ban that people from any other country cannot have a child over here. You have to put regulations here so that the women who go in for surrogacy for foreign couples, they are protected, that the child that is born is protected, and the law has to take care of that. You cannot say that only Indian people can, you know, avail of Indian women for surrogacy purposes. I think that this in itself is a slightly flawed argument. So on the one hand, I do recognize that everybody should have a right to have a child. At the same time, I also recognize that persons who live with each other do not have companionship rights of various kinds in the country, whether they are homosexual or they are heterosexual. It's going to be a very tough task to say that as a couple I can adopt a child or I can have a child. One person can adopt and the other one can just be there as a co-parent without any legal guardianship over the child. That holds even for adoption and that would hold for surrogacy also. But to now make this whole thing about Indian, that only Indian people can avail of surrogacy in India, I think that this is something that's stretching it a bit too far. On the one hand, we speak of globalization, we speak of expanding borders, we speak of making borders open. On the other hand, we are continuously restricting them, stopping them, and in some sense, the surrogate women who could actually earn more money through this process.
No, I think she's got it wrong altogether.
Alright, sorry, Dr.
No, I'm sorry, you got it all wrong.
Alright, Dr.
Yes, you got it wrong because I do not think that yes, I would like to respond to this. I do not think that the government has been restrictive in any way. What the government says is if you can get a no objection certificate from the country of origin and you can still go through it because we do not want babies to be stateless, orphans, and that is what the ART bill says. So I think they need to have a look at the ART bill properly before they talk.
I am responding to the DGHS statement today, and I am responding only to that. I know what the bill contains, and I am saying that the bill does protect the child by saying that Indian rights have to be given only to couples who are living in
Dr. Rao, just to clarify, these are suggestions that have been made by the DGHS for now the final draft preparation of that bill, Dr. Vashi.
So I agree with Dr. Rao that ART bill, of course, that a single parent could take it and foreigners could come and all that was right. But it is the DGHS today which has tabled, which is making the laws very different from what laws were made at that time. So the fact that they should have an NOC, I think everybody would agree to that. We do not want the babies to become stateless. We don't want them. I mean, no country holding the babies. Definitely, it makes sense. We, they should be. I mean, there has to be some kind of laws laid down. We want the children to be protected. We want the women to be protected. But now the fact that the ART what has been suggested today is that the ART banks would be deciding what is to be paid to the surrogate, and a local guardian has to appoint, which is perfectly all right. We also don't want the children, suppose they are born before the commissioning parents arrive. Then how long? Who will look after? All these things have to be in place.
But sorry, Chainika, you want to respond?
In fact, I do think that even in the ART law, the fact that we're putting the parents, commissioning parents as the legal guardians right from the word go, I think that is also slightly problematic. I mean, if you made the birthing mother as the guardian and then did a proper adoption procedure, maybe the child will never be in a danger of not being without a guardian.
No, but that will open
we have said that commissioning parents from the beginning is the name on the
not at all.
If that's going to be extremely
open it can happen here.
Okay, that of course is another point for debate. But Dr. Bhargav, I just want to ask you really quickly, what is this point about Indian origin parents? What does that really mean?
Well, I take it that this debate that we are having today is on account of the statement that has appeared in the Indian Express, I believe in the Delhi edition this morning.
Yes.
Now, I believe that the suggestion that has been made that surrogacy should be restricted only to Indians and not to foreigners is an absurd statement. Because first we accept surrogacy, second we accept medical tourism, as long as surrogacy and medical tourism follow ethical norms, and the bill clearly states what ethical norms should be followed, then I do not understand the basis of any statement that would restrict surrogacy only to Indians. I think it's a totally, in my opinion, if I may use an extreme term, an absurd statement, which is not commensurate with our existing policies of allowing surrogacy and allowing medical tourism. In fact, surrogacy is a form of medical tourism, and the bill clearly states how we protect the rights of the surrogate mother, of the child, as well as of the commissioning parents.
All right, Hari, if I could just bring you in, we've been talking about many of the proposed changes that have been made by the DGHS, and well, the Indian origin clearly does not seem to have very many supporters, at least on the panel. But you are involved with a lot of foreign parents seeking to get a surrogate child in India. Tell us a little bit about your experience. Is that something that the Indian government can afford to, in fact, completely cut off and completely ban?
Well, first thing is whether it can afford. It really doesn't make sense whether it can afford. The first question is what is the requirement for actually making this change? Why this regulation in the first place? Now, when we are looking at this kind of situation, till the end of 2012, foreign internet parents usually used to come down to India without any hindrance, and there was no requirement for a special visa for that. It is only during the mid of 2012 that they had introduced something called a medical surrogacy visa, and in the end of 2012 they had actually prescribed what is the requirements for it. So they had introduced the visa, the medical surrogacy visa, and later then they prescribe what is the requirements. So as far as what it exists now, the first thing that is required is that the couple should be married for a period of 2 years, and you require a letter from the embassy of the country of origin of the internet parents stating that they would allow this child, once it is born, back to their country. So some of the countries like US, Australia, UK, they have given letters, an open letter stating that our country is acceptable to surrogacy if it is taking place in India, and they are ready to give citizenship to the child.
Yeah.
Now, that being the case, there is actually no problem for countries of these kind of countries
to actually
allow surrogacy to give the citizenship.
Yeah.
Now, when we are looking at that kind of situation, there is no possibility that the child can actually go stateless. Now, this regulation in place, which is already there, now that restricts a lot of internet parents to come down to India who can possibly come up with any kind of a conflict with regard to private international law or conflict of laws of different countries. Now, when you're looking at this new regulation in place, which is the proposed regulation in place, which says that that you need to be proven infertile or that you need to be of Indian origin, it really does not make sense.
Really doesn't.
Because this term Indian origin, the reason for that is that if you say Indian origin, he can still be having a different citizenship.
Absolutely.
The child would not be afforded Indian citizenship.
And there doesn't seem to be as yet, Hari, any clarification on that. But clearly those suggestions really made by the government to try and make the ART bill much tighter and much more restricted don't seem to have much echo really amongst the panelists here today. So hopefully those will be looked at.